philosophy of religion, social and political philosophy, and philosophical practice. In addition to teaching and research, Professor Bala is a certified philosophical counselor by American Philosophy Practitioners Association, New York. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Now may I invite the speakers of the session, Professor Srinivasa Varakedi, to join us on the dais, please. Professor Priyadarshi Mukherjee, Dr. 𝐃𝐡𝐚𝐫𝐸𝐚 Pillai, may I now request Professor Bala to kindly chair the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Sabhaya Namaha. Revered Swamiji, Sri Ram Madhavji, and Professor Sunaina Singh ji, Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Bhatt, Professor Ratsi Sinha, and Lalita Kumar Mangalam ji, and other distinguished guests who have joined us today, and invitees, participants, and dear students. Good afternoon to you all, and this is the last session of last panel discussion of 6th Dharma and Adharma conference that we are going to have in the middle of, which is on the theme Dharma, Dhamma, Traditions in Building Post-World Order. At the outset, I submit my sincere thanks to Professor Sunaina Singh ji, who is the host of this conference, and Sri Ram Madhavji, who has conceptualized this particular event. And also I thank them for making me a part of this event. And I believe that we have two role models before us when we are talking about post-COVID world order. One is a unique combination of intellectual, leadership, politician, and diplomat, Sri Ram Madhavji, a person who is going to play a key role, who has been playing and who will be playing a key role in the new India that the present India is thinking of, emerging India in the world order. So that is how we have a very important, significant role model in front of us who is thinking and continuously working towards this emerging India. Similarly, we also have a very successful academic administrator, Vice Chancellor of many universities, and presently the Vice Chancellor of Nalanda University, Professor Sunaina Singh ji, a person who endeavors to build a new knowledge order in the lines of old Nalanda tradition. So, in fact, I believe that these two role models have already playing their key role in thinking about or motivating us to look at this post-COVID world order, what it should be in terms of diplomacy, in terms of knowledge as well. Having said that, I have certain things to mention about. I feel really honored to be chairing this particular session. Because of many reasons. I would talk about that little later. But thinking about this theme, Dharma, Dhamma traditions in building the post-COVID world order, when I was trying to analyze this, I found that there is an assumption, underlying assumption, which is hidden in that, which is to be articulated explicitly, that probably Dharma Dhamma tradition has played, these two traditions have played significant role in the pre-COVID world order. This is what we are assuming, and we are also assuming that the significant role that was played by them in the pre-COVID world order should continue in the present or post-COVID world order as well. So if we are thinking about that, the question that comes forward is, are we merely trying to repeat what was already stated, or are we repeating or re-articulating? Re-articulating in the sense that in terms of the present crisis, are we trying to rearticulate any of the values or any of the inputs that we have taken from the tradition in a new way is what is important, and that's what I believe this present conference has focused upon. So we also assume that in terms of when we look at Dharma and Dhamma traditions, taking up Buddhist meditation and also taking Indian yogic system, Patanjali yoga system, we in a way we can say that whole world is affected by them in one way or the other. Whole world is influenced by them in one way or the other. We cannot say, we may not find any country where at least one of them, either meditative techniques or Patanjali Yoga Sutra, hasn't have any impact at all. So that shows, that establishes that there was a significant impact of Dharma and Dhamma traditions on the world order in the pre-COVID times as well. So, given this, having said that the influence was visible and influence is clearly recognizable, what is this post-COVID world order that we are looking at? In fact, I'll make few of my observations in the beginning, and I have a submission as well to all of you with regard to the new post-COVID world order that we are looking at. What could be that? Because there are various proposals that have come, and I also have my own proposal to submit to all of you for your consideration, and then I'll invite the other speakers to speak. Fortunately for me, though this is the last plenary session, one of the speakers hasn't turned up, so I have my own time to speak, give my presentation as well. So that's the fortunate thing that I have got. Yeah, what is this post-COVID world order that we are looking at? When we have to talk about that, we also have to talk about why post-COVID world order. Because we assume that during the COVID times, the world order is disturbed. What do we mean by world order being disturbed? As one of the speakers in the morning was talking about, human relations in terms of human and other humans, human and nature, and human self with oneself. All these three orders are strongly disturbed during COVID times because of lockdown or whatever it may be. But there was a disturbance in terms of human relations. Human beings are basically ontological beings, and they are relational beings. This aspect is to be emphasized again and again, and it has been emphasized in classical traditions, whether you take Greek tradition or Indian tradition or Chinese tradition. So this relational aspect is very important. Human being as an ontological being, relating the being of the individual with the other individuals, other beings, nature, and the self again, relating it to oneself is very important, and that's where I believe the impact of COVID was very strong. Because when we talk about life is not just staying away. Life is interacting with the other. That is where the relational aspect comes strongly again. That is where we have created artificial institutions like social, political, cultural. All these have emerged on the quest of the individual towards relating himself with the other or herself with the other. That aspect is very important. And during this pandemic, what happened interestingly was the world was suspended to the individual temporarily. It's not permanently, but temporarily world was suspended, where the interactions and relations of the individual with the other were halted temporarily. So that has a strong effect on the individual and his or her psyche, and also the way he or she has to relate himself with the other. That is where all the orders that we spoke about, social or political or cultural, have got strongly affected. So if we understand that this effect is very strong and recognizable, then now we come to the point of what is this post-COVID world order that we are looking at, and what are the assumptions on the basis of which this post-COVID world order must be based. Okay, that's where my point lies. What was in order to talk about that, we also have to talk about what is this pre-COVID world order, which is our Poropaksha, on the basis of which we want to establish and talk about our present or future post-COVID world order. So unless we have some knowledge about what is this pre-COVID world order, we will not be able to assume, because for any kind of change, causes and conditions are very important. It's not just the causes, it is also the conditions which are very important, as it is stressed by Buddha and many other Indian traditions. So now when you look at the pre-COVID world order, you found that there is a clear-cut hierarchical order, whether it is with regard to political system, world political scenario, or at any of the national scenarios, you would find a hierarchical system. And also divisiveness, a lot of divisiveness in various conceptions, epistemological conceptions of the individuals. And we also find there are guided principles that have come at the international level in terms of sustainable development goals, human rights perspectives, and concern for the climate change. These were existent even then, and these continue to be existent in the present times as well. So if this is the situation of the pre-COVID world order, then we also found globalization coming up, coming and articulating the needs of the individuals, the relations of the individuals, the ontology of the individuals in terms of economy. But during the COVID times, there is a rearticulation of hierarchies, rearticulation of divergences and differences in terms of health, centering it on health, not on economy. So this is a very important distinction that we have to understand. Here in this context, I would like to bring a discussion that went on yesterday, Professor 𝐃𝐡𝐚𝐽, who spoke about the distinction between Dharma and Adharma. And he also spoke about how Adharma can be understood in terms of some countries, though they have excess resources, not sharing them with others is considered to be adharma by him, and it was very well articulated by him. I just want to quote one instance, one research article that has come up in the recent past, which is published by a Brazilian scholar, Gilberto Silvestre, titled The Contract Theft and Third Accomplices Civil Liability. Okay. This looks very technical, leave it. But otherwise, the point is, some of the countries which are in need of COVID-19 combating machinery or mechanism or material, they had a contract with other country, and at the time of actually delivering the goods, third country comes into the picture and buys the material for 4 times of the price and takes it to that country. Okay, so I'm talking about France and Germany accusing USA for this. And Chinese suppliers were ready, and they have prepared the material, and they were about to send it to these countries, France and Germany. And in between, the material was rebought by USA, and it was shifted to USA. And it is not just that. No, even in Europe, it happened with regard to many countries. In fact, France also has done similar kind of thing with regard to Italy, and Brazil was the worst affected country, which has ordered, they say, $42 million, 600 artificial repositories, which are ordered from China, which have come to Miami airport, and they were not delivered to Brazil, and they were taken up by USA, and they have used it, right? So I'm saying, when we talk about Dharma and Adharma, this is a very interesting case where countries, we are talking about world order. So how do you talk about world order in this kind of a situation? And now people may say that, no, we are not following Dharma or Adharma, we are following Apadharma and trying to save our own people. But there is a world order that we are conceiving, right? What kind of world order that we can think beyond Dharma and Adharma is an important point that I want to make here. And we had wonderful deliberations these 3 days, 2 days, and there are many proposals that have come up. For example, initially Professor Bhatt was helping us in understanding that dharma is very important, which is a principle of sustainability, regulation, and enhancement of the order in the cosmic order as well as human order, and all orders that we can think of artificially and also which are there naturally. Right. Similar kind of proposal we also have got from other scholars, like arguing for universal peace, stressing the significance of Asian and Eastern values. And we have a scholar who has stressed the importance of education, not just regular education, which must have a component of global citizenship education. Fortunately, we have it in our national education policy. And we also have a proposal in terms of looking at the post-COVID world order in consonance with the cosmic order. And dharmic principles were stressed, and Abhyudaya model of management has come up, and we have a proposal of consciousness revolution as well in the process of the course of the discussions. In fact, this morning it started with Ramarajya, Rama, and then followed by Krishna, which was the Lokasangraha, principle of Lokasangraha, followed by Buddhist understanding and Buddhist proposal for new world order. Now, what is it that I am thinking at is, are we repeating the world virtues or values, or are we trying to re-articulate them, is the question again for me. In this, when we look back at these deliberations, are we trying to make a new articulation in terms of the effect of the COVID is very important for us, because it's not just to repeat what was there, it is also to re-understand ourselves in the contemporary situation. And also, are there any lessons, positive or negative, that we have to learn or we have learned from the COVID world, is also another important point that I would like to mention. And this brings me to the fold of human action. Whatever we are doing falls under human action, philosophy of human action. And human action is the one which contributes, and whether it is positively or negatively, and that's what makes things possible for us. And when we talk about civilization, politics, social order, whatever, you are basically limiting it or bringing it to the human action. So that's very important to me. And human action, there was a continuous quest for knowledge, right? All of us agree that there is a continuous quest for knowledge. And this quest for knowledge is always guided, fortunately or unfortunately, by two principles. And these two principles are power and comfort. Okay? So all the development that you talk about is either contributing to power or is guided by comfort. These two are continuously guiding the human action, and that is what the civilizational progress that we talk about, social or political orders, or have reached the present stage because of these two guiding principles, comfort and power. Now, these two principles have helped human action in exploiting what is there as the resources, exploiting all sorts of resources, whether they are human or natural or cosmic, whatever you may call. So this has led to the problems that we have identified in the pre-COVID world in terms of climate change or whatever, a value erosion, whatever. Now the point is there any lesson to be learned from the pandemic, right? Someone yesterday spoke about Bhagavad Gita. I think Professor Ramnath Jha spoke about karma, akarma and vikarma. In fact, I would add two more to that. Over karma and pausing karma. See, what I mean is, pandemic has stopped us from acting. Pandemic, what it has done, the whole world, is it has stopped the whole world for some time from acting. When the human action was stopped, look at the world around. Okay? So it gives a strong message to all of us that we also have to stop the human action sometimes. It is not stopping in that sense, it is pausing the human action. That's what I was hinting at. So nature has its own capacity of rejuvenating, and this is possible only when you pause the human action. It is not that you have to rejuvenate the nature. You cannot do that. You are incapable. Human beings are incapable of rejuvenating nature. But nature itself can rejuvenate itself. It is the natural power of nature to rejuvenate, but what is required is pause in the human action. Your intervention has to be stopped for some time so that it can rejuvenate itself. And I'm not saying this in terms of just bluffing, okay? This is based on scientific discoveries, and also somebody has got a Nobel Prize because of this discovery, discovery of this actual, very visible kind of a fact, right? So this principle of rejuvenation is very important to me that I would like to stress here. Rejuvenation is a natural and automatic process, but it must be given some time. And how is this time given to the nature? In terms of pausing the human action. Yoshinori Osumi has got Nobel Prize in 2016. He is a Japanese cell biologist. He discovered something called autophagy. Autophagy is a cell technology where each one of us are made of cells, right? So this particular cell, biological cell that we are talking about, over a period of time, it gets like degenerated. And how do you make it get rejuvenated? We have no power to do that. It regenerates itself. Its degenerated part is regenerated automatically by itself. Only thing that is required is you should stop interacting with it. That is how all of us in every religion, religions, don't take religions to be silly things. Religions prescribe code of ethics to make human living in consonance with the natural and cosmic order. Okay? So fasting patterns that we have in each religion is based on that. Once you stop eating, your cell gets sufficient time to eat its own degenerated part and become healthy. Okay? For this discovery, the Japanese scholar has got Nobel Prize, and whatever I am saying in terms of pausing human action is on the basis of that. When we paused human action, what happened was Ganga started flowing with all purity, and many of the mega cities and metropolitan towns have started breathing fresh air, good air. What is it that happened? It is not that with some more action you try to purify it, right? Unfortunately, we think that action is the root cause, and what is to be done? You may add some more action so that it gets rejuvenated. No. What is required is you stop interacting. And stressing this particular point, I have written and published an article on global lockdown calendar where I argued that nations around the world have to fix up a lockdown calendar and say that in a year, these are the days. We declare holidays, right? Unfortunately, even during holidays, we don't stop activity. We add more activity during vacation and holidays. But at global level, there should be a lockdown calendar where all human activity would be stopped for few days or whatever that is possible as per the gravity of the pollution levels of that particular country, so that we can lead to a we can live a sustainable life and living. So this is a small thing that I have to submit to all of you, and I have shared my article with the organizers. Hopefully they would circulate it with all of you so that you can have a reading and respond to that. With this, I invite the first speaker of today's session, the plenary session, Professor Srinivas Varkhedi, who is currently the Vice Chancellor of 𝐃𝐡𝐚𝐫𝐞𝐬𝐴 Sanskrit University, Ramtech, since December 2017. He is also the officiating Vice Chancellor of Gondwana University, and he was the former Vice Chancellor of Karnataka Sanskrit University, Bangalore, a very accomplished scholar and a lucid speaker. I invite him to give his talk.
Thank you very much, Professor Bala, chair of the session, for beginning this session with your own proposal. At the outset, I would like to thank the organizers, India Foundation, and this great Nalanda University for inviting me. for not to speak, but definitely to listen to the great thinkers of our times. Nalanda is a meditation. It's a land of meditation. We are here to meditate. 3 years back, when I came here, we could not teach this place. I appreciate the efforts taken by Honorable Vice Chancellor Sunayana-ji to create this beautiful campus. And as I cannot refrain myself from appreciating this, because I know what it takes. Yanisha Sarvabhutanam, the entire world was stopped, but Nalanda continued to work. And today we are here with this creation. That's the change I have seen in these 3 years. Thank you so much for this beautiful meditation hall. Buddha, of course, started with meditation, and this is the land of discourse also. Because Nalanda University, when it was created for debates, and people came here to debate and then to meditate. So meditation is possible only after debate, only after discourse. I think we should discourse, we should have discourse, and we should then meditate, then to create. Honorable Chair, can we take 15 to 20 minutes? Yeah, because we have we are 3, right? We can share 1 hour. Yes. Without taking much time, I offer my salutations to COVID. Namastubhyam Covidaya Vishwastambhana Karine Covidaya Namastestu Vishwamochana Karine. To COVID, which brings a halt to the moving world, my salutations to the great power, that is also Covida, that liberates the world from all its bondages. I begin with a quote from Ishavasya Upanishad, Andhantamah pravishanti ye avidyam upasate. The people who worship the avidya will fall into deep darkness. We know it. But tato bhuya ivate yav vidyayam rataha. And they who worship vidya alone fall into even deeper darkness. So, therefore, vidyancha avidyancha yastadveda ubhayam saha avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya amritamashnute. He who simultaneously knows both vidya and avidya gets over death by avidya and attains life by vidya. Here, avidya means, there are many interpretations. Avidya means discourse. Discourse removes our confusion and illusion. And the vidya, reflection, brings life. Why I am telling this? We need to meditate before we build new world order. Some of my friends shared with me that new world order has begun. We need not do anything, because the world came to a halt, longer halt, and then it started moving. Today we think that we are in the post-COVID era, but the horrific experiences of the second wave is stimulating us to welcome our fearful, one kind of fearful mindset towards third wave. We don't know. Nobody is sure about it. Yet human beings are positive, therefore we take the world as it is. In the history, we know that many such halts came, and then we welcomed the new world order as it came. World order is so natural, so that we need not do anything for that. It just comes and we have to welcome it. But the problem is, why this has to be a thoughtful creation? Because during COVID pandemic, world was sitting idle, and then we started reflecting, and we thought that the situation will bring new order, new norms of wearing mask, washing hands. With this we started online meetings, and then less crowd. Of course, we started with Diwali. We started, we started greater assemblies. But coronavirus has taught us one new dharma, that is asparsha dharma. You touch me not, okay, and you will not be harmed. So touch me not dharma. Asparsha dharma was taught by Krishna also. Matra sparshastha kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkadaha. So, but we did not practice it. Now Corona taught us you should practice it. Okay, asparsha dharma, which was taught by Gita, was again taught by coronavirus. But yet, are we really taking it very serious? So I begin with Arjuna's construction of post-world order. This Arjuna started telling in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, when you go through the shlokas, Kulakshaye pranashyanti kula dharma sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam krisnam adharmo bhavatyuta utsanna kula dharmanam narake niyatam vasaha bhavati ityanushishma. He constructed a world which is so logical. If you just read those lines of Bhagavad Gita, very so logical. What happens after this? What happens after? Once this happens, you have to assume that this will happen. So logical construction he makes, and then he creates a new world order, post-war world order, which is Naraka. Okay, Narake niyatam vasaha bhavati ityanushishma. This is the construction of Arjuna's world order. The people who are depressed will construct such world order. We are in that situation. We should not, we should not really hurry to do something in this depression mode. Still, we are waiting for third wave, and we are thinking that we are capable to create new world order, and assuming we are capable to create new world order. Is it so? Is it not? It is not so easy. Krishna says, see, when you see this kind of Krishna in contrast, in reply to Arjuna, Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anarya jushtam asvargyam akirtikaram. I did not translate this. How could you think of it? He says, Athachet tvamimam dharmam sangamam nakarishyasi sataswadharmam kirtincha hitva papam apsasi. Therefore, swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahatava. Start doing something. So here, if this opportunity to open the doors of Swarga has come to you, okay, that's what we should think. Because in this Yuga Dharma, so in our history, in our ancient Puranas, it is said that in all before beginning of new Yuga or Avantara Yuga, there will be some Pralaya. Nityo naimittikashchaiva Atyantikasthatha, Pralaya Stridhamataha. Pralaya is of three kinds, and Nitya Pralaya, it's a constant. Then Naimittika Pralaya, we saw Naimittika Pralaya now. It is Naimittika Pralaya has happened. After that, some change will start. But that change, is it very regular one? Change will automatically come, or change is created? According to Krishna, change is not created. Change is so natural. Change is created by human beings. So world order can be created by us. This is the opportunity for us to open the doors of Sarga. If you don't fight this dharma battle, you will lose your swadharma and glory that you have earned, and that you will get into a sin. Therefore, create Sarga for you and for others. Even a bit of dharma will save you from bigger fear. we should note these lines. So fear is there. We cannot think that we are in the fearless situation. Fear is there. We have to start act. So in that sense, the Krishna wants to construct a different world order with stronger intention. Why I am telling this? This world order is intentional. So if we welcome natural world order, that is Arjuna's world order. Okay, that will be Naraka. If we want to create Sarga, that should be intentional. So we need to act and we need to meditate. We need to intend to create such world order so that we can create Swarga. So this is where we bring, Swarga type world order requires strong willpower. It requires strong willpower. Intentional world order is result of some force like upliftment of a thing. It is so natural. Water falls down. It is so natural. But if you want to lift the water, you need some force. So now, if we want to create an upliftment world order, then definitely we need some force, some willpower. Dharma-based Abhyudaya construction of a new world order needs an internal active force with strong volition. Will to act and willful act. This is what it is said, Chodana Lakshano Dharma. It requires some chodana, some force. Without such volition, we cannot create dharma. So if at all we want a new dharmic world order in the world, in the universe, we want to create Swarga, we need chodana. How this chodana comes? I quote an important verse from Dharmapada. Mano pubbangama dhamma mano setha manomaya manasa chet paduthena manasa che pasannena. Next verse. Bhasativa karotiva tato na dukkham anveti chakkam va vahato padam sukham anveti chayava anapayine. So I don't go to the interpretation of that. Very interesting point is manopubbangama dhammaha. So manahpurvangama dharmaha. Mind sankalpa is forerunner of all states. Mind is simply great. Dharmas are mind made. Dharmas are mind made. This is mental construction. If we don't intend to construct this new order, new dharmic world order, it will not happen. Therefore we are here. Therefore we are in the place of Dhamma, where Buddha has created new Dhamma for new world order for the universe. So there are the two examples. One is if you speak and act with a polluted mind, suffering mind and fearful mind, and suffering follows you as the cart wheel follows the foot of the bull. That's just like chakra. It will follow, and then even bull cannot stop. Once chakra starts wheeling, and bull cannot stop. But the other way around, if the same person speaks with the pure mind, and happiness follows him like his own shadow. If you stop, shadow stops. If you move, shadow moves. Therefore, the intentional creation of such order needs some sankalpa and mind, without which it will not happen. So, the question is, all that we are is the result of what we have thought, and we will become the same what we think today. How to control and re-navigate our thinking? Is there any way? This is the question. The answer is yes. There is only one way. Nanyah panthaha ayanaya vidyate. What is that? That is bringing dharma language into our conversation. We have forgotten some languages. We have forgotten dharma languages. Why Samskritam? People ask me, why Samskritam? Why Buddha's language we need? Because it says, Patanjali says, the word properly employed will create Swarga for you, will bring all that we want. Languages are intertwined with our thoughts. You cannot separate them. No thought can exist without a language. Nasosti pratyayo loke yashabdanugamadrite. Bhartrhari, it is a profound statement of Bhartrhari. Nasosti pratyayo loke. We cannot think without language. So then, if your language is Sunrita Vak, which is Mahavira's Upadesha, okay, Sunrita Vak, the voice of goodness, true, tender, and warm and virtuous, then that language is, that language uplifts us. How? Some languages are meant for commerce and business. Some languages are meant for abusing others. Some languages are meant for dharma protection. So, in order to protect dharma, language, because language, it is why Sanskrit is called divine language, because it is language of Sanatana Dharma. It is language of dharma. It is meant for dharma. Therefore, rishis adopted Sanskritam. It is pure in the sense that it purifies our mind. Language governs our thoughts. Thoughts create perception, some perception, and perception controls our behavior, and collective behavior constructs new world order. Simple logical connection. Therefore, language, thoughts, behavior, perception, and collective behavior, that is the world order. Therefore, if you want a dharmic collective world order to exist, we need to ignite, we need to bring back the language of dharma. So I don't go into the details of that, I'll skip some, and I will take up another point, Navayuga Dharma. What is Navayuga Dharma? 2 points I take. Working for common public liberation. So far in our, when I teach Darshana, I was teaching students, and always we discuss about mukti, liberation, moksha. Moksha at individual level. It is totally private. If you achieve, remove your all doshas, then you will become liberated. You get liberated. And if you are liberated, you can enjoy your sukha. This is what we teach. But there is another term, which is very beautiful term. That is Abhyudaya and Nishreyasa. Nishreyasa is not private mukti. Abhyudaya is not private sukha. Abhyudaya is public good. It is, if everyone is happy, then Abhyudaya is happening. Otherwise not. Similarly, Nishreyasa is such that it is a mukti for common public. I mean, if everyone gets liberated, then that is the Nishreyasa. It is not private affair. So separating this idea from private mukti, because when we teach our darshanas, we always teach this private mukti. So we need to teach this Navayuga Dharma. That is, we have a new yuga, where in this new yuga sandhi, we should teach everyone, live along the nature. This is the highest order of dharma, which is connotated by the term Ruta, and then second order to live with the society is the rest of the society in harmony, that is Dharma, and third one is living for good, that is Satya, Satam Hitam Atyantam Satyam. It is not just truth. So Nishreyasa is not a personal liberation, it's not private affair, it is liberation of entire universe. So Samashti Mukti. Yeah. So the bigger problem with the current day culture is that this culture has created a kind of preism, a kind of meism. What's there for me, and how I will benefit. If we don't come out of it, Corona taught us. Even during Corona, if the universe, human beings, all our medical society would have thought that what would I get from this, then definitely this word would not have in this form today. We should thank them, we should clap them. The humanity in them really worked well. Today, we are touched by that humanity. Before Corona, we did not have this kind of experience. Today, we have that experience. So, we have to ignite in our mind that we have to come out of this meism, and then that is where dharmic traditions will come to our help. So lastly, in this creation process, we need to ignite Bharatiya Prajna, that is Dharmic Prajna. It's possible only through the revival of such Nalanda universities. It is a symbolic today. Today, reviving Nalanda is symbolic, but we want Nalandas in entire India, where the Indian knowledge traditions and Dharmic traditions come together, and then they will create the base for our education. There, what we should aim is that we educationists create an environment where education binds us together and liberates us from all the mental blockages to find real artha, meaning that comes from dharmic traditions. So with this, at the end, I just end with a story. Why only 150 or 200 people sitting here and they are meditating this, and if they act, if we all of you act, is it possible to change the world order? Possible, because when after Mahabharata Yuddha, only Arjuna and Krishna was there, both were there, and they created new world order, and that world order came into existence later. So only Panch Pandavas could create it. So it is quite possible. In Mumbai, 20 fashion designers will change the dress of the entire India. Even others, just 6 months they change. They think only that fashion. So today some dresses are seen here, and tomorrow some change will come. One story is storm in the seas, and millions of fishes were tossed onto the beach, and the fishes struggled to get back into the water. Some lay, one person walking on the beach saw a monk picking up the fish and tossing them into the water, just throwing them inside. And then he just asked him, why are you doing? Thousands are coming out and you are saying only you are sending back some few fishes, then what will happen? No result, why you are doing this? And then the monk kept doing the same, and he picked up another fish and thrown into the water and said, it is certainly made a difference to the fish. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for that very intriguing talk, stressing the importance of intentionality over natural order. My only submission is, even if it is intentional, it has to be intentional in consonance with the natural order or cosmic order. Otherwise, probably we would be slightly misplaced. And you rightly stressed the importance of dharmic traditions playing a key role in building this international or new world order that we are thinking about, stressing the point that we are losing the languages, which means losing the epistemology. So are we completely into the epistemology of Dharma, Dhamma traditions, or by using a language like English, are we slightly distorting or going away from the epistemology of the traditions? Given that there are works which have come saying that there are untranslatable Sanskrit words which we have been trying to translate and distort, in the process distort. I really appreciate these thoughts that you have shared with us. Now I invite the other speaker that we have, distinguished speaker that we have, Professor Preetar Mukherjee, who is a professor at the Center for Chinese and Southeast Asian Studies, School of Language, Literature and Cultural Studies in Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. And he has 17 books to his credit, which were published from 1990 to 2021, and more than 100 articles which are published on the themes related to transcultural studies. And he has 2 books on Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, which have come in 2018 and 2019. He is also a visiting professor at Shenzhen University, China. I request him to share his thoughts with us. Welcome, sir.
Namaskar. Dear friends, first of all, I would like to express my deep gratitude to Sri Ram Madhavji for inviting me to this conference. I also express my thanks to the esteemed Vice Chancellor of this university, Professor Sunayana Singh ji, and others. I would also like to thank all those who worked hard to make this conference a success. The title of my lecture is basically to say some Dharma Dhamma paradigms in the Indic traditions and the New World Order, a cross-cultural interface with China. Now, since I am a teacher in Chinese studies, so basically I was inclined towards showing why this kind of COVID pandemic occurred and what were the reasons behind it, what were the thoughts behind it, how it spread, and what can be the antidote, possibly antidote. Of course, there is serious doubt about it, whether it will succeed at all or not. The geopolitical and geostrategic dynamics at the beginning of the second decade of the 21st century have transformed the world in the light of the post-COVID pandemic or scenario, you can say, post-COVID scenario, or you can say that COVID is not yet over. With widespread destruction of human life accentuated by a covert biological warfare unleashed by the wildly ambitious Chinese hegemons, has put before mankind the basic question of dharma. With no equivalence in Western languages, the word dharma is commonly translated as righteousness, merit, or moral duties governing individual conduct. Its most inappropriate translation has been in the sense of religious faith. The word dharma has roots in the Sanskrit dhri, which means to hold, to maintain, or to preserve. Out of the varied connotations of the word, we can see that how the word has acquired various senses in our old traditions. Number one is faith, creed, piety, virtue. For example, ahimsa, parama dharma. Number two, scriptural laws or directions, dharma sammata. 3, a form of worship, tantric dharma. 4, theology, dharma grantha. 5, natural quality or behavior or disposition, property or function. For example, manava dharma, kala dharma, pavaka dharma. 6, virtuousness, righteousness, morality, dharmahina acharan. 7, law, dharma patni. 8, justice, dharmadhikaran. 9, yama, dharmaraja yama. 10, chastity, dharmanasha. Now these varied sort of attributes are there. So we can come to the point, out of the varied connotations of the word, we find dharma or dhamma as natural quality or behavior, property or function. When we deal with the word panchabhuta or the 5 elements, the basis of all cosmic creation, these are kshiti, ap, tej, marut, vyam. In Mahabharata, the Pancha Pandav represented the Panchabhuta. The 100 Kauravas, who represented the malevolent human desire, were vanquished by the 5 elements of nature. Nature is thus depicted as invincible. But when we explain dharma in terms of human conduct, we invariably emphasize on the moral obligation of treading the path of, honesty, kind of righteousness. This path of dharma is termed as Tao in Chinese philosophy of Confucius and Taoism. Tao has been explained as the highest state of spiritual enlightenment imbued with a just cause. However, Dharma and Tao are not the same, though some scholars have vaguely sought to paint them both with the same brush. Tao can be translated as marg, though it is quite unclear whether that marg or path is of dharma or adharma. I remember some scholars' famous lecture in which he said, Dharma nirpeksh is equivalent to adharma sapeksh. In the ancient Chinese philosophy, the 5 elements have been different from those of ours. Instead of Kshiti, Ap, Tej, Marud, Vyam, the Chinese have earth, water, fire, wood and metal. The Chinese do not believe in anything intangible. Therefore, instead of air and ether, they have got wood and metal. These 5 elements are said to originate from each other and also said to subdue each other. The principle of 5 elements as progenitors goes as follows. Fire grows from wood, soil grows from fire, metal grows from soil, water grows from metal, and wood grows from water. Similarly, the principle of 5 elements subduing each other is reflected thus. Water subdues fire, fire subdues metal, metal subdues wood, wood subdues soil, and soil subdues water. All these formulations are based on the dharma or the natural qualities or functions of the elements. In the Chinese configuration of 5 elements, the elements are in harmony but more in the state of subduing each other. Now, when we talk about these things in the modern times, especially after 1945, after the communist takeover of China, Maoist thoughts actually percolated and distorted these kind of ideas. Now, the saying went, 人定胜天, this phrase was used. That means man has the ultimate power to subdue the natural elements. And so therefore, the course of the Huanghe River was changed, forests were cut, many things happened, and even now it is happening. The diabolic act that China embarked upon by spreading the Wuhan virus across the world has been an act of adharma, which the USA had funded so as to capitalize from the pandemic. Both the US and China colluded with a sinister design to make money out of the suffering of the people. And now, with the connivance of the WHO, India's global initiative for vaccination is being undermined through racism. The New World Order, which has been imposed through series of deadly competition for hegemony over the maximum resources of the world, now we can see how it has shaped the entire global order. It's not through the conventional methods of war, but by the covert diffusion of lethal virus and its successive variants. Now I come to the point where it started from, the true essence of Chinese dream. The Chinese dream started when they visualized that they have been victims of an era in which Europe and America actually capitalized through exploitation. This is what they say. Now, in order to redress that, they wanted an imperial power, being a superpower. Now, when we read through the lines, we see the Chinese dream is actually what some scholars in China have written in Chinese in their books, is basically the Chinese dream of American imperialism. Now, they learned from that. There was an era after 1945, after the World War came to an end, that Japanese, being a small country, how could they control the entire Eastern Hemisphere? They started learning those techniques. Similarly, when we used to visit China, we used to often observe the Chinese, how they wanted to learn from the Americans and the techniques to control the world. In the face of ecological imbalance induced by environmental destruction, causing climate change with unprecedented scale of calamity, we can well conclude that these are all results of human greed, insensitivity, vested interest, and selfishness that come under the purview of adharma. I would like to highlight the plight of Tibet in this context. Now, you visualize that India and China could strike a balance and maintain peace for centuries because of the independent existence of Tibet between us. Because we didn't share any direct border with China. That is why we could maintain peace. Once that border is gone, all sense of tranquility has vanished. Because China is now trying to redress what they thought that was injustice to them. So the entire course of thought process, the mindset, grew out of that, controlling the world or the world order. Now you can see the death traps everywhere in this world, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, everywhere in our entire vicinity is under indirect or indirect control system of China. Now, following our swadharma, based on dharma which connotes social responsibility, moral law, or ethical values based on truth, we need to move swiftly towards performing our yuga dharma, the dharma in each epoch. So dharma has to be followed by karma. During our freedom struggle, a large number of youth sacrificed their life while seeking to break the bondage of our country. That was considered their rightful dharma. But theirs were acts of individual heroism. When Subhash Chandra Bose galvanized individual forces into a formidable army, the Indian National Army, he performed a greater dharma due to which the British left India. Those who vowed to remain subjects of a British dominion by adhering to non-violence and enforcing pacifism to curb popular upsurge had been selfishly adhering to personal gain, vested interests, detrimental to national emancipation. That was clearly adharma. Sri Krishna professed of attaining dharma through peace in the initial stage, but when peace failed to achieve that objective, he advocated for war. And war was himsa, not ahimsa. We got our freedom because of armed struggle by the INA. Next point, the conflict between dharma and adharma keeps permeating. Can I have some water? Yeah. Thank you. The discourse of dharma and adharma takes the center stage in our great epic. Sri Krishna's sermons in the Kurukshetra battlefield can be depicted as a reflection of the dialectics and the suffering of human life in which we exist amidst the constant tussle between dharma and adharma. We might continue professing Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, and also when we come to this university, we also can say Yatra Vishwam Bhavatyeka Nidam, where the world is but one abode. This has been our Swadharma for ages. But now is the time to refashion our existence in the new era, in the new world order, by adhering to Yuga Dharma. Simultaneously, the Chinese deceit and expansionism and the US arrogance, mindlessness, and hypocrisy have created perilous effects on the entire world. India must seize the time to embolden her gross national strength index through revitalizing the economy by means of enormous political will that would amount to our fulfilling of Yuga Dharma. This Dharma would certainly require a paradigm shift so as to make India truly self-reliant, striving wholeheartedly to create grassroots wealth so that we could become a strong nation in all respect. Now, briefly, I would mention how the Chinese in the earlier stage, in the ancient times, visualized what our self should be. Now, before that, I will just briefly come to the point, because the theme was value-oriented education. Mahabharata stories should be incorporated in our curriculum so as to imbibe ethical values among children, as Thirukkural of Thiruvalluvar is taught in schools in the south. The lessons in Dharma are essential in fostering social harmony, imparting righteousness, and an urge to attain the common goals for an anthropocentric overall overhauling. Briefly, I will come to the point that the Chinese had visualized the body as absolutely a sort of structure of a spinal cord on which we exist, we stand, and the top portion of the character reflects on music, and the bottom portion is the food. So that means the spiritual culture was placed before and above material culture. That was the ancient thought. But unfortunately, after simplification of these Chinese characters, they have drastically changed, which has nothing to do with that spiritual culture and material culture. Just a minute. I'll just wrap up. Yeah. Buddhism, we were talking about Buddhism. Buddhism originated in India and spread all over the Asian continent. Yet today, China deliberately seeks to obliterate that fact. The books they publish quite consciously seek to project China as the sacred land of Buddha and Buddhism, and provides a wrong interpretation that Buddhism is dead in India. The way the Chinese have preserved the Buddhist sites, notwithstanding the wide destruction of shrines in the Maoist era, should have been a lesson for India to emulate. Despite China's outright rejection of religion and adherence to atheism, its ostentatious display of attaching importance to global religious faiths has now fallen flat with its imposition of authority in selecting the next Dalai Lama, inside Tibet. Now, when we talk about, just now another speaker spoke about the neo-normal system. In 2014, we had heard from the Chinese envoy that this was going to come. So that means there was a well-prepared plan about that. So when we come to that point, we have declassified, files to show that how they had planned about it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. Right, I understand that. Sorry, sir, for stopping you in between, but yeah, because of the time constraint, we have to do that. I reserve my comments, or probably I suspend my comments, and then invite the third speaker of today's panel discussion, Professor 𝐃𝐡𝐚𝐫𝐸𝐚, who is presently the director of Shantigiri Research Foundation, Shantigiri Ashram, Kerala, and he was also a former senior fellow of Indian Council of Philosophical Research. And the Shantigiri Institute is very important one to be noted by all of us, because it is making a fresh beginning in spirituality, and it seeks to put into practice dharma conforming to the present yoga. Yoga dharma, that's what they concentrate on and work sincerely and seriously. And along with spiritual activities, they are also into well-being, activities related to well-being. Without wasting much time, I invite 𝐾𝐡𝐚𝐫𝐸𝐚 to give his presentation. Over to you, sir. Please.
Bowing down the lotus feet of my Guru, 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐟𝐞𝐫𝐞𝐬𝐵 Guru, the founder Guru of Shantigiri Ashram. Let me greet the distinguished panelists on the dais, and let me extend immense thanks to the Vice Chancellor of Nalanda University, Professor Sunanya Singhji, and Sri Ram Madhavji, who is the moving spirit behind all these endeavors. I don't need to, shower more words, because already everybody has showered that much appreciation on the kind of work this Nalanda University has carried out under the leadership of the present Vice Chancellor. So let me greet my friends, revered professors and colleagues of the dais. So we know that we have gathered here at one of the most worst times in human history. And we have gathered here, or I can say that it may be a historical coincidence that in the midst of this chaos, we have gathered at a place called Rajgir, where more than 2,500 years back, the Blessed One traversed the length and breadth of this land, sermoning and disseminating the great ideals of Dharma, and thus establishing a profound tradition of Dharma. And it was a clarion call to awaken the people who had enmeshed in a way of life that had deviated from the Dharma and wanted to guide them to a world of bliss and mindfulness. So, I am deviating my, already made presentation, because after listening to the last 2 days presentations here, I don't want to repeat on the narratives on the present global pandemic. Also, I don't want to dwell upon the idea of Dharma and its various dimensions, because already Professor S.R. Bhatt, Professor Ramnathja and others have brilliantly dealt upon the various facets and dimensions of Dharma by quoting profusely from scriptures. And therefore, but Professor Jha pertinently pointed out that whenever there are problems, we should review our actions, whether they are in tune with the cosmic laws. Let me submit that ideologically their articulations may be right. But as historical records show that the past more than 5,000 years of socio-cultural and economic history of India had been totally deviated from Dharma. Our social, cultural, economic and political activities and code of conduct were devoid of Dharma, or were not based on the principles that promote harmony, love, well-being and righteousness, in spite of the sacrificial life and striving of great gurus, acharyas and seers. So we should have pride in our culture, pride in our amazing knowledge systems. But as Professor Balagadamadi pointed out, by this, rejuvenating the Dharma tradition, are we intending to take up are we going to re-articulate the values, the already set values, or how we should re-articulate our Dharma traditions in the context of modern challenges? It is here Professor Paranjipai's effort, or Professor Paranjipai's critique of the ancient spirituality and knowledge systems carries relevance. Because his contention that a revolution in human consciousness alone can bring about profound changes in human perceptions, in human actions, in human thoughts. Especially he focused on Aurobindo's thesis on the evolution of consciousness from conscience to the Gnostic being. It is more important because when we dwell upon our scriptures or ancient wisdom, we don't provide much importance on Aurobindo's thesis or expositions as it deserves, because Aurobindo highlighted the irrelevance of past spirituality to achieve the evolution of human consciousness. He said, Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad, they all have come and gone. But human consciousness still remains at the bottom level of its existence. It is in the grip of asuric forces, dark powers, which cause bloodshed, wars, violence and cruelties. Human life is not an accident. It is governed by a cosmic will and design, and its perfection depends on the way of life and thinking one chooses. Humanity, from the most fascinating irony of our time is that we are seeking solutions to the multitude of problems in which we are enmeshed within the framework of the self-same thought patterns and value premises which have created them. It is a great irony of humanity. Because yesterday, day before yesterday, Ram Madhavji pointed out that in the present context, India alone can offer solutions. The climate change, it is threatening the survivability. The health hazards, the pandemic has catapulted or brought into limelight the importance of India's traditional medical systems. But humbly, let me submit that modern man is trying to circumvent the climate change by, instead of this collision or fusion, or through solar energy, they may resolve the climate change issues. This in the health scenario also, they will circumvent by adopting Indian medicines, etc. But do you think that the mindset and the consciousness of human beings will be changed in the near future. No, because within the self-same premises and value patterns, they will go on finding solutions to the dilemmas. It is a great dilemma of humanity. So today we are living at a time in which the irrelevance of past spirituality and modern technological civilization in providing us the basic needs of life, real peace, love, happiness, and a secured future for our children is more or less crystallized. Aurobindo notes, when all is said, love and force together can save the world eventually. But not love only or force only. Therefore, Christ had to look forward to a second advent. And Muhammad's religion, where it is not stagnant, looks forward through the Imams to a Mahdi. So Aurobindo again notes, because in the fag end of his life, Aurobindo said, or he revealed, that he revealed the advent or the descendants of the supramental light on earth, accompanied by supermind. That day is observed as Siddhi day in Aurobindo's ashram by his followers. He believed that the descent of the supramental light will bring about tremendous changes in the consciousness of human beings. And he notes something more drastic, more radical than moral and religious change is imminently needed. If the tide of darkness and falsehood, which is now threatening to engulf the whole world and plunge it into catastrophic disasters, is to be turned back. The need of the hour is for a change in the inner consciousness of man, more drastic and decisive, that cannot be achieved through moral and religious reform. It is in this context I draw your attention to the relevance of the revelatory spirituality of Navajyoti Sri Karunagara Guru. Because Guru's advent marked a shift in the Dharma paradigm, and Guru proclaimed to the world that it was on account of the non-observation of the Dharma of the present Yuga, that is Kali Yuga, in spite of the sacrificial life and striving of great many Gurus, Acharyas and seers, there is no respite to human miseries and sufferings. The Guru's teaching is replete with illuminating expositions on inexplicable riddles in spirituality. Drawing upon the scriptural expositions on the time concept or the Manvantara time calculus and the doctrine of Yuga Dharma, the Guru noted that it is the idea of Dharma and the time concept enshrined in the Manu Dharma that has provided meaning, structure, and eternity to Indian spirituality and cosmology. The Guru pointed out that Dharma is Yuga specific, and each Yuga has got its own Dharma. He continued, it is the Dharma paradigms of Treta and Dwapara Yuga that continue to exist in the present Kali Yuga in Hinduism, which explains the unabated misfortunes and lack of spiritual and material progress. The scriptures have underlined that the Dharma paradigm of each Yuga is different from the other. Manusmriti, the first book of Dharma, notes that there is one set of Yuga Dharma for man in the Krita Yuga, a different set for each of the Treta, Dwapara and Kali Yugas. The Dharma change according to the change of the Yugas. In the Shantipara of Mahabharata, it is vividly stated that the duties set down for the Krita Yuga are of one kind, Those for the Treta are otherwise, those for the Dwapara are different, and those for the Kali are otherwise. In the Krita, penance occupies the foremost place. In the Treta, knowledge is foremost. In Dwapara, sacrifice has been said to be foremost. Dharma is yuga specific and is to be observed in accordance with the Yuga Dharma under the guidance of a Kalandra Guru ordained for the same. Parashara Smriti 124. Navajyoti Sri Karunaguru stated that the temporal and the operational part of Dharma changes in each yuga. Therefore, ethics and moral values applicable to each yuga is different from other yugas. Therefore, the performance of the spiritual and material life in accordance with the Dharma of the concerned yuga determines the spiritual and material evolution and well-being of human beings. Therefore, I am just, when we think about the capacity, the strength, inner strength of Indian Dharma traditions to bring about a new narrative in the context of the present crisis. If we wish that, if we think that our traditional wisdom in that form can be a response to these challenges, that is to be relooked, because Dharma is to be Sanadana. Each yuga ordained Kalandara Gurus will take birth to reinterpret the Dharma in accordance with the spirit of that concerned yuga. It is what missed for more than, since the body departure of Sri Krishna. You scan the spiritual history, all the acharyas came, strived to guide humans to a righteousness and well-being. But where we have reached? Only this aspect you examine. We have all the Dharma traditions, but we are unable. This transforming, we want to have a transforming Dharma tradition. How that a transforming Dharma tradition can be achieved? It is what is taught in Shantigiri Ashram, a new parampara. Transcending religion, caste, community, religion, race is coming up. People from, when asked yesterday, somebody said day before yesterday, when our systems are strong, no need of fighting with Muslims or Christians. If our belief systems are, if our religious practices are strong, scientific, people will come to us. Therefore, we have to go back to, so this wisdom tradition, jnana tradition is to be revived, retrieved and restored, and then only we can bring all the people, Muslim, Christians. Guru has said that all these paramparas will, all these people will come into this our ancient wisdom tradition, and then only we can accommodate, we can face the challenges. And I missed that. Therefore, we need to have practical measures. In this respect, I request to have very practical discourses. We tie up with all the similar-minded spiritual institutions. We can have a confederation. Till we reach to such a great Guru's abode, we can have a networking of similar-minded institutions and people on a common minimum program. We should have, because all these spiritual institutions are divided in their own way. They all are islands. But on a common minimum program, we should have an agenda to disseminate through our education, other campaigns, the Dharma tradition, the wisdom tradition of India, knowledge tradition of India, which alone can save India, and which can catapult India to the Gurusthanam of the world. Thank you all. Thank you. Balaganavadiji. How many minutes I took?
20. Yeah. Thank you so much, Professor Gopinath Pillai. Sorry to stop you in between, but we were running short of time. If there are any one or two questions that we can take up, probably one. Yeah, Professor Sirajul Islam.
Thank you, Professor Balaganopati. Thanks. My question is related to Professor Mukherjee. Really, my gratitude to you for nice deliberation and much more practical in related to the theme of the conference. If this time of pandemic or plandemic, which is implicitly mentioned by you, then the world order, whether we the people or scholars or philosophers have any role to prepare any world order. World order is not a component. It's related to our economy, employment, education, health, politics, culture, etc. So everything is related. Is there any role of us if we are discussing here to change the world order or prepare the world order, or we are not the...
I think the point is clear.
Yeah, we are not the policy maker. So what we can expect from it? Thank you.
Yeah. Over to you, Professor Mukherjee. Yeah. Oh, good. You can wait, sir, for a few minutes.
My question is basically this. You know, we are talking about the post-COVID world order, but I think we also need to talk about post-COVID, post-modern world order. Gone are the days when we used to say that Vidwan Sarvat Pujyate. Now everyone is a Vidwan. Why we are basically talking about the advertisement of the ancient wisdom? Why do we have the time machine to go into the ancient time and not taking up of the present time? So what will we think about the post-COVID, post-modern world order? When values are subjective, when individuation has taken place, what would we say on this thing? My similar question is this. Like, there is a general question is that during the last 2 days, one distinction is made between East and West, Eastern religion and Western religion. What is the role of researcher? Is to create the lacuna or is to fill the lacuna? I want to ask these two questions.
Wonderful, yeah. Please introduce yourself, friend. Okay, sir. Professor Mukherjee, if you would like to respond to the first one, because he specifically addressed it to you. You can come here, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Professor Islam had asked me this question about pandemic or plandemic. It is a planned sort of thing, what we understand now. Now, what was your exact question? I couldn't follow.
I see.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That is what we can do now, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, probably we can do that.
Yeah.
I just
better.
want to respond to the person who has asked this question, like, are we, that's what even I was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, please. Thank you very much. Yeah, a very good question. Are we taking, all of us are going back by revisiting Indian knowledge system? This is the question. The idea is not that. See, if something is best, why don't you consider to examine, evaluate in the present times? What we want is, by introducing Indian knowledge traditions into in the modern context, we are just trying our best. Okay. The second point is this, that whether this whole idea, if you visit any country, the country which is following its own tradition, the tradition is the best point for innovation. If innovation is possible, without seed you cannot create any new thing. The seed is available in our own tradition, and why are you searching outside? Therefore, all these inquiries, best quests can be made in our own tradition. I am not saying that every solution is available in our tradition, but best solutions are available for our challenges. That's all.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Yeah, from my point, actually, even I was stressing that we are not trying to repeat. No, we are trying to re-articulate. That is the most important point. And Professor Gopinath Pillai also has mentioned that. With this, I thank the organizers, especially Professor Sunaina Singh, Honorable Vice Chancellor, for giving me this opportunity, and all the organizers as well, and the speakers who have wonderfully put forth their points. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair. Now, may I request Professor Balaganpati to kindly felicitate all our esteemed panelists. May I request Professor Sri Prakash Singh to kindly felicitate Professor Galapan. Thank you, everyone. We break for lunch now. We start with the parallel sessions.